In the 9th century, perfectly retaining oral history was the sole currency of a scholar. For those tasked with preserving the words of the prophet, the slightest contamination of a memory could threaten the integrity of a lifetime's work. Suwayd bin Sa'id bin Sahal bin Shahryar was a man who operated at the highest level of this field. His renown earned him respected titles across the region, identifying him as al-Anbari, al-Hadathani, and Abu Muhammad al-Hadawi. Born around 140 AH, his career would stretch across an entire century of Islamic history. To understand his rise to the peak of the scholarly world and his later controversial fall, we have to examine the physical vulnerability of the human mind. This map shows the geographical scale of his early academic journey. Suwayd left his home in Iraq to traverse the empire, seeking to collect oral histories directly from the source. He spent years in the holy cities of Mecca and Medina, immersing himself in the traditions of the Hadamain. His pursuit then pushed him into the Levant, Ash-Sham, and down into the scholarly hubs of Egypt. Along these roads, he studied under the primary architects of the field, including Malik bin Anas, the author of the foundational Al-Muwatta, as well as Hamad bin Zayd and Sufyan bin Uyayna. Gathering knowledge at this level required massive physical and financial sacrifice. These successful travels established his early reputation as Saduq, or truthful, marking him as a reliable narrator of the faith's history. By his middle years, the traveling student had become an established master, holding court for a new generation of researchers. The scholars who learned at his feet would go on to become household names in their own right, including Imam Muslim, scholar Ibn Majah, and Abu Dawud. He even received the rare endorsement of Imam Ahmed bin Hanbal, who described Suwayd as righteous and instructed his own sons to record Suwayd's teachings. Suwayd had become a central pillar of Islamic tradition, serving as a vital link in the chain of transmission that held the academic community together. Then came the tragedy of his extreme old age. Suwayd lost his physical sight, eventually becoming entirely blind. Without his eyes to anchor him, the vast library of information in his mind began to falter. Typically, a master scholar verifies his memory by checking his written records. Blindness made this impossible. Suwayd could no longer physically consult his books to confirm his past knowledge. This created a vulnerability to talqeen, or prompting. Visitors would read texts to him, slipping in fabricated narratives. Unable to see the pages, Suwayd would agree with these prompts, mistakenly verifying false readings as his own. Critics like Al-Bukhari noted this decline. It was a stark reminder that a scholar's physical health is the final safeguard of the records they keep. As these late-life mistakes became public, the consensus around Suwayd's reliability fractured, leading to a sharp divide among the critics. The critic Yahya bin Ma'in was famously aggressive, declaring that if he had a horse and a spear, he would raid Suwayd for his errors. One specific error that drew such fury was a bizarre love hadith that Suwayd authenticated during his years of blindness. The text promised paradise to anyone who falls in love but remains chaste and keeps their feelings a secret. Rigorous evaluators like Al-Bukhari and Ibn al-Jawzi analyzed this specific narration and dismissed it as munkar, or unacceptable. This reaction demonstrates the nature of hadith science. It prioritizes the accuracy of the data above any personal affection or past reputation. Suwayd's controversial later years eventually came to an end. He passed away on the day of Eid al-Fitr in the year 240 AH. Having been born in 140 AH and dying in 240, he lived exactly 100 years. His life remains a study in contrasts. The vital contributions of a diligent young traveler set against the compromised memory of a blind old man. Ultimately, Suwayd bin Sa'id's journey serves as a case study in the rigor of historical preservation. It proves that within this field, even a century of devotion does not exempt a narrator from the constant demand for verifiable truth.